Welcome everyone to our slot at the d.velop Forum 2021, where we would like to tell you something about how you can lift your invoice processing to a higher level. My name is Annika. I'm a partner manager in the international department of d.velop. And when I say that we would like to tell you something about your incoming invoice processing, I'm talking about me and our partner Paperflow, which is represented today by Melde and Carsten. And yeah, would you introduce yourselves to the audience?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Carsten. I'm the CEO of Paperflow. I've been working in the company for 2 years now. I bring a background from finance and accounting, which suits very well, as I have felt the pain that our customers are feeling on my own body. I have handling invoices by myself and had teams doing that for several years. I bring a background from internationalization of other Danish companies and digitalization of these companies in different industries as well. So I think that the Paperflow is an interesting journey. And you, Malte?
Yeah, my name is Malte. I'm the product owner of Paperflow. I've been with the company for 3 years now in various different roles. I've been in the sales team, I've been in the support and customer success. But what really brought me to the product owner role is my curiosity for the way we use the AI and the technology behind the product. So I'm in charge of the day-to-day operations with the product development and the overall product strategy.
Great, thank you. Let's have a short look onto the agenda for today. First of all, I would like to tell you something about why we do what we do and what the challenges in processing incoming invoices are and how the ideal digital process could look like. After that, Carsten and Melde are going to dive deeper into what Paperflow is, what they do and how they do it. And in the end, we will give you a live demonstration of the software. Let's start off with the challenges in the processing of incoming invoices. This is probably a picture how a lot of people in the accounting department or in general people who are flooded with a lot of invoices look like. They all ask themselves nearly the same questions. Have I got a proper overview over all of my invoices? Is everything registered prior to the month-end close? And especially for those who are trying to find out the current status of an invoice, one major question is, who has the invoice right now? Who ordered the items on the invoice, and who is in the end responsible for verifying and approving the invoice. Also, people dealing a lot with invoices run into time issues when they have to provide information and search for the invoice first. So if there's someone in the company from, for example, the purchasing department requesting invoice information and you have to run through the complete company to find the invoice, this takes a lot of time, whereas with a digital system, the colleague could just get the requested information themselves. And of course, not only people within the company need information around the invoices, but also suppliers call and request information of the status of an invoice, and it's simply faster to search it in a digital environment than in the different departments of the company. And those challenges and the time needed to solve the issues lead to a very high cost factor for manual invoice processing. And that's just not something that we assume or that we see in the daily work with our customers, but also well-established associations have researched, like AIM, for example. And according to their studies, the average cost to process an invoice in paper form is between 18 and 25 euros, and this doesn't even include the staffing costs. So if you include the human resources that are needed to process an invoice in paper form, these costs are even higher. So what are the general reasons to use a digital solution? What is our wish list that we want to fulfill with our solution? As I said, the cost factor is a very big factor when it comes to manual invoice processing, and of course we want to reduce the processing costs of invoice processing in general. We want that the customers can make use of the cash discounts that they might miss if they don't have an overview over all their invoices. we want to avoid errors that are caused by manual data entry and eliminate all the manual steps to reduce the time that you need to process an invoice. So in general, spoken, we want to improve the transparency by knowing the status of all the invoices directly. And of course, we want to provide that all in your favorite application. So let's draw the ideal digital process that we have. I'm gonna give a general overview of how the process looks like before we jump into the details later on. And it all starts with the supplier who's sending us invoices. That can either happen in paper form or via email, which means either we have to scan and digitalize the invoices or we already have them digitalized. However, when we have the digitalized invoices, the AI-based recognition of the invoice takes place, where we recognize the metadata and the line items in the invoice. And this is already where Paperflow comes in, which is why I don't want to dive too deep into that part, because Carsten and Melde are going to talk later about it. And after this step of the AI-based recognition, we have two ways that we can go, which depend on the type of invoice that we have got from the supplier. On the one hand, we have purchase order related invoices, where it's pretty easy to digitalize the process to a high degree by simply matching the invoice to the purchase order and the letter of receipt. So to say, do a three-way match of the invoice. So yeah, it can be directly posted into the ERP system if all three components match to each other. And on the other hand, it could be possible that we receive non-purchase order related invoices from the supplier. Here, the process looks slightly different, and we have to find people who verify and approve the invoice. But we also have workflows that allow you to forward the invoice to the respective people who have to verify and approve it once before it can be posted into the ERP system. After it's posted into the ERP system, you can pay the invoice, of course, which is probably the most fun, of course. And as well, you can find it in your favorite application. So if you like to work in the ERP system, of course, you can always find the invoice there, but it's also possible to take a look at it in Outlook or in whatsoever system application that you work preferable with. Yeah, and as I said, the AI-based scanning is where Paperflow comes into place, and this is the point where I would like to hand over to Carsten, who's going to give us an insight who Paperflow is, what they do, and why they do what they are doing.
Thank you, Annika. I would like to say a few words about what is Paperflow, and I'd like to answer the questions on why, what, and how. If you start with the why, it's pretty simple. Paperflow has a dedicated focus on replacing the human ability to decode what's on the invoices, meaning that we are building software that makes it possible to read the content, take the content out of a document, neither it's paper or PDF, and then give this data into your system. What? Here it becomes a bit more complicated, and Malte will go a bit more into details here, but what I can say is that you have probably already heard about solutions like OCR, optical character recognition systems. We are also using that, but we are not just an OCR system. We build on top of the most well-known of these systems from Google and Microsoft and so on. But on top of that, we put our AI engine, where we can take the important data out from the invoices. We have secured an engine where we are training on several thousand of invoices every day, going through with manual validation to make sure that the engine is always improved. So how, for you, basically the simple thing, the only thing that you need to know is that you send the document to Paperflow and we return the data to your bookkeepers and your system. Talking about internationalization, Paperflow is established in Denmark. Denmark and Scandinavia in general is probably one of the most digitalized regions of the world. And we have seen that and have succeeded on the Danish market. And we also see that we have more than 30 regional partners. We have 40,000 end customers using us on a daily basis. And as you can see, we are covering more than 25 countries. d.velop is our first partner in Germany, and we look very much forward to get closer on the German market. To understand what Paperflow is and where we come from, it's also important to understand our founders and our investors. Many of these investors are famous people in Denmark. They might not ring a bell here in Germany, but if you take Werner Valeur and Preben Damgaard, they're both famous from establishment of ERP system. Preben Damgaard might ring a bell here in Germany. He was the founder of Navision that was later sold to Microsoft, and it's the foundation for Business Central and all the Microsoft bookkeeping systems today. These two people were talking about that they were missing an easy way to get data into the bookkeeping systems. They literally needed some eyes to take the data, and not human eyes to key them in manually, but to do it in a digital way. So they decided to build Paperflow and decided to build the engine that could do this. Later on, they met Lars Seier, who was founder of Saxo Bank. It's a well-known bank in Denmark that's also international now. And he had the same need. He was seeing that to do payment transactions in the bank, he needed the same kind of information from the invoices, so he invested in Paperflow as well. And the most recent investor is Bent Bank Jensen. He's a serial investor and he's chairman of the board. He sees the potential in process optimization in general. Yes.
Thank you, Carsten. Guess that gave us a good insight into what Paperflow is and what you guys doing. Before I hand over to Melde, as I said, I've drawn the ideal process beforehand, and it all starts with the supplier. So this is also where we would like to start our live part, to have a full circle story. If I'm the supplier now and I have invoices that I would like to send to my end customers, I've prepared now 2 invoices. The first that you saw is a purchase order related invoice, and we have a second one, which is a non-purchase order related invoice. We simply take these 2 invoices and post it into the invoice post box, in this case of the demo environment of d.velop. And yeah, the invoices are automatically forwarded to Paperflow, and yeah, Melde.
Yeah, so what you have just seen is the start of the document journey. This is where the document has been created. It was in this case a PDF. It could have also been a picture of a physical receipt or physical invoice. And that's where it has now been sent through with an email into the Paperflow engine. What I want to dive into today is what is happening inside the Paperflow engine. What is the technical things behind it, and what is the value that we actually give the customers of d.velop. So what you see here is when it goes inside the Paperflow engine, we do several different steps. The first part is the OCR, optical character recognition. This is just a standard product that you can get from Amazon, you can get it from Microsoft, from Google, as Carsten mentioned. So that's not some new fancy thing to get. We group these together and have built our own on top of that. But what is making us different is the whole labeling part. So the OCR is just a bunch of unstructured text. And with our labeling engine, that's where we define what is the structured data, what is the supply information, what is the total amounts, the payment dates, and so on. Today we can capture around 50 different header fields and around 15 different line item fields. So we can also give the different product lines as well to match up with the purchase orders. On top of our labeling software, we also have this human validation, which is another add-on that you can activate, where we then have humans who then go through the data that we have captured to make sure that it's correct. So when they look through it and they see errors, then they correct it, and that will also train our engine, both for you and for all of our other clients. When we're then done processing it, it will go straight into d.velop for further handling and approval. Now, the technical benefits behind Paperflow, these are the 4 most discussed topics. One is this validated data. We offer this human validation for people who would like to get the absolute top quality of the data. They want to be able to automate their flows as much as possible, because when we have already looked through it in this data capture process, then you won't have to look through it when it comes back into d.velop. You have to do some controller work once in a while, but you don't have to sit down and look at every single invoice, because it will match up and it will automate the process like this. More than that, we have this global learning, which means that when we receive supply invoices from one customer and we train on that, that is benefiting all of our other clients. And now, because we've been in already 25 countries, we have seen documents from all around the world and basically know, no matter the layout or no matter where the invoice is coming from, we have more or less seen something like that before. And that is what you'll gain from this, which then leads me to the next point, which is the high accuracy. Already from the start of using Paperflow, from the first invoice you send through, you will receive some of the absolute highest quality on the market, because we have so much data that is already ready to give you this top quality. With our then current continuous learning, you'll then just be able to achieve more and more accurate data while you're using Paperflow continuously. The integration we then have made with d.velop is seamless directly into the d.velop platform. So there are no new systems you have to learn. You have no new setups. You don't have any manual work. You can just send it to a new type of email postbox, and then it goes into d.velop, ready to process as usual, and then just with our validated and high-quality data underneath. Now, how can we achieve this high quality? So we are working with some pioneering artificial intelligence. We are collaborating with the University of Copenhagen, where we've been researching with different papers we have then implemented in our engine in Paperflow. So one of the biggest topics that we've been working on is called probabilistic programming. It's a very new and groundbreaking way of looking at data. It's more or less giving us the knowledge of why we're correct and when we're correct. It is being used in cancer treatment and finding out where is the cancer developing from, when is the protein cells then splitting up, and that is where the probabilistic programming actually started being implemented into practice. And then we've then, of course, taken it and gone in another branch, and then using it in our Paperflow engine. This is one of the models that we work with. We also have multiple different models, making sure that whether we have seen an invoice before or we've never seen it before, we know how to treat that invoice. We know how to get data from it. So it doesn't matter if you're a completely new customer with a completely new supplier, then we'll be able to deliver the data, because we have different ways of looking at these different types of documents. Here's the performance and delivery time, because what can you actually expect from Paperflow when you work with us and when you send your documents through our engine? So with our AI data capture, where it goes through our engine and back to you in d.velop, it takes around 1 to 2 minutes, usually processing it. With the validated data capture, where we have the humans validating it and making sure it's correct, it's around 1 to 4 hours.
Thank you, Melde, for that deep dive into the technical side of Paperflow. And as Melde already said, Paperflow is seamlessly integrating into d.velop documents into our software. And after Paperflow has done its magic, the invoices are automatically forwarded to our platform, which you can see here. And now all the invoices are available in our task app. The task app involves all people and different departments in the company that have to handle any kind of invoices. And as you can see here, our invoices are the only ones in our system right now, and they are in different stages, which is shown better now. This is caused by the fact that one invoice is purchase order related and the other one is not. If we start with the purchase order related invoice from Wesson Limited, we can see that all metadata and all the line items have been recognized by Paperflow. You can see it even more clear when you have the invoice next to the metadata. Paperflow has recognized the line items, the order number, and we have done the three-way match, which is why we also know the GL account, the cost center, and the invoice is already verified and approved. So the only thing that we now have to do with the invoice as the accounting department is to put it into the ERP system. However, we can beforehand also check whether we actually have received the items. As you can see here, the order number from our ERP system matches with the order number on the invoice, and we have received 2 items, which is correct in that case. So we can continue and post the invoice into the ERP system directly. As I said, with the non-purchase order related invoice, the process looks slightly different, which is why the invoice is still in the verification phase. However, also here, Paperflow has done the magic and has recognized all the metadata of the invoice and the line items. But right now, we still have to verify the invoice. From historical data, we have recognized that I'm, in that case, the verifier. We have the cost center and the GL account. And after I have verified the invoice, I can set a yes here. I can continue and hand over the invoice to the approver. Since I'm the only one working in our demo scenario right now, I'm the verifier and the approver at the same time, which is why now the task pops up in my task app again. As you can see, in a different status, in the approval status. As the approver, again, I have the same view onto the invoice as the verifier has. I can have a look on the total invoice, see everything the verifier has seen. Everyone can leave comments. I can, for example, say, okay, the invoice is good, and make it visible for everyone in the company. And yeah, after that, continue with the invoice and hand it over to the accounting department. The only thing, so to say, the accounting department now has to do is check everything again and post the invoice into the bookkeeping department. In our case, I'm the accounting department as well, so it pops up in my task app. I have a look as the accounting employee and see, okay, the invoice is verified and approved already, and I can post it into the ERP system. Right now, we don't have any new tasks in our task app because we've done everything we needed to do with the app, with the invoices. And what now automatically has happened in the background is that the invoices are posted and forwarded to our ERP system, which is in our case Dynamics for Finance and Operations. And as you can see, all the metadata have been transported to the ERP system as well as the line items. So you can see we have digitalized the whole process from the incoming of the invoice until the posting into the ERP system, which is pretty great. Yeah, Melde would like to tell something about another application of Paperflow called My Paperflow.
Yeah, so what we actually mentioned before is that it is built seamlessly into d.velop, where you see, as Annika showed, you have this verifier page where tasks appear. But what we actually is working on right now, and we're launching here the 1st of October 2021, is a new platform called My Paperflow. This will be a self-service platform, very similar to the verification page that you see inside d.velop. This platform will also be integrated directly into d.velop, so you can access it there. Don't have to switch between different systems. And what this does is it is allowing you to actually customize and train the AI yourself. So we have always been this seamless integrated player in the market, kind of behind the scenes, and now we're pushing out this visual front end, this portal that you can access. This is for people who would like to have some control over what our AI is actually capturing. So you'll get the benefits from our continuous and global learning, while now also being able to specify what do you actually want it to capture on the invoices, and how do you want to train it in the future.
Thank you, Melde, for this outlook. So as you can see, there's a lot to come, and you can be excited about the further steps that d.velop and Paperflow are going to take. But I think for today, that's it from our side. Do you have anything to add, Carsten or Melde?
I'll just say thank you for your time, both to d.velop and for inviting us here, but also to you as a listener. And if you should be interested in hearing more about this solution, feel free to contact any one of us. You see the contact information here.
Yep. Thank you very much.